There always used to be three of us. Both of them used to be armed, used to be carrying guns, you know. And, I witnessed a man getting his hand chopped off.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Wide Awake podcast. My name is Joshua Rubin, and today I have a very special guest. His name is Tommy, and he is a recovering drug addict. And we actually know each other. We go quite far back, a few years now. We met in Rehab. So I'm very interested to kind of reminisce and hear more about his story because, to be honest, I didn't listen to much of anything when I was in rehab. So it's kind of be like the first time again. Anyway, man, welcome to the studio.
Thanks, Josh.
So just to start off, I mean, you're from the UK, right?
I am, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about where you grew up?
So I grew up in a town not far outside London, like a rural town. It's London Overspill, we call it. So back in the 80s, lots of top firms moved out of London, just not far out, just because it's cheaper. So it's called London Overspill. It was a pleasant place to grow up. It certainly had its bad points, but no, it was nice. It was nice to grow up there.
And just to kind of get straight into it.
Yeah.
At what age did you start using drugs?
12.
12 years old?
12 years old, yeah.
So you started young.
I started young. I did, yeah. I started off on hash, smoking hash. I don't know if it was cannabis resin, and drinking. So drinking and smoking dope at 12. It was a way for me then to, at the age of 12, I hated myself. My dad had left when I was young. I didn't have he was too busy with his new family, with his new girlfriend and her daughter, and my older brother, who I idolized. I got nothing but bullying off him, so I felt worthless. I can remember that feeling, at a young age, feeling very worthless, hating myself. And as soon as I discovered alcohol and drugs, it was a way of escaping them feelings. I could just, for the time I was under the influence, I was someone else. I wasn't me. I wasn't living my life. And I loved it.
I know you've kind of answered this already, but what purpose did it serve for you? Like you said that things weren't amazing at home,
yeah,
and your kind of image of yourself wasn't great. What did drugs do for you?
So it gave me confidence. I was listen. I didn't have much confidence in school at that age, but I found when I had a drink or when I had a smoke, I would do stuff that I would never do sober. It would take me out of myself. The more I would do stupid stuff, daring stuff, but also it would give me that the feeling that it's hard to explain, but
give you that edge that you needed.
Yeah. That edge, that the vibe. That I could vibe better with other people. I didn't really fit in anywhere. I had a few close friends. Not really a group. I was good. I was probably quite an introverted little kid, but I loved my sport. And when I found that I fitted in with these people who I used to drink and smoke with. So it gave me the feeling of belonging as well, because definitely belonging, which I didn't have. I felt I was. The world felt really odd to me. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. My mum, bless her, she done her absolute best. Such a sweet lady. But yeah, I think it was. I wanted to be involved with my older brother because, like I said, my dad was gone, and I wanted to be involved with his mates, and I wasn't. I was just completely shunned and ridiculed by them. So when I found these group of people on my estate who I could drink and do drugs with and have fun with, it gave me that feeling of belonging, and I loved it.
And what kind of things were you bullied or ridiculed for?
Listen, I think it was just I was more beaten. I think it was at the case, my brother didn't have like I said, my father wasn't around. My brother didn't have a male role model either. So I think at the time he was taking his anger out on me, and it was making him look cool in front of his friends, So it carried on. I think it was my brother's very hard-tempered. Kind of, we're completely different with chalk and cheese. Love him now, get on really well with him now, but I was more soft, a lot more sensitive, and I think I got ridiculed for that. I wasn't part of his group of these fucking thugs that used to go around doing what they done. So that's the reason and that also made me feel worthless. But then later on in life, it kind of turned the other way around. I became the thug, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
And when, in terms of your drug use, when did things start getting out of control? Because I know at the beginning, it can be very fun and you have this sense of fitting in. Yeah. But I feel like with all addicts, no matter what your addiction is, there is a point where things start to turn.
Listen, yeah, definitely. For a year or two, it was fun. I kept it to the weekends, and it was fun. It was, a Friday night, a Saturday night. My mum, bless her, in states I used to come home in and try and convince her I was sober. And there used to be. I remember she used to. Cell phones had just come, we're just getting smaller or whatever. And I used to get a call off her and she used to say, "Thomas, get home now." And that's all she needed to say. And I knew there'd be a policeman sitting with her in our living room for something I've done. But certainly the first 2 years were fun. Hash progressed with it by the time I was 14 to speed and ecstasy. Drink just went up and up, but I found pills and I fucking loved them. And speed. I think that's when things started getting out of control. I mean, in my eyes then they went out of control. I was just I was still having fun then. Like I said, it was a way of, I see it now, it was a way of escaping my feelings, because I couldn't deal with my feelings sober. Looking back, it began to become a problem by the time I was 14. The amount of pills and speed I was bombing on the weekends, and then that turned into fucking. I was like getting pilled up at school. Pills played a big part of it. When I was 14, I was raped by by a boss. I used to work on the market, and I played a big part in. I exacted some revenge on him, and it was ecstasy that played a big part in that, and it led me to prison, to jail, but then it led him to jail. So, listen, I couldn't talk. It took me 2 weeks to speak to not to speak to the police. I was at the, to tell them why I'd done it. I couldn't bring myself to tell them it was because he raped me. But it was certainly, I think if I hadn't used, I wouldn't have because I was completely hungover when he done it as well. I literally I had not an ounce of strength in me. Not that I think if I wasn't hungover, not that I think it would have changed anything, because I was 14. He was still a bigger, he was a full-grown man. But and then it progressed from there quickly. Cocaine. By the time I was 18, I was spending £700 a weekend on cocaine. By the time I was 18, and I knew I had a fucking problem then. I was an apprentice engineer. I can manage to go to work and not use and drink at work. That's a lie. I drunk at work. I could not, I managed to keep off the coke whilst I was at work. But as soon as I left work, every night I was getting smashed. I know I wasn't sleeping. I was coming 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. The birds start chirping, and you think, "Fuck! I've now got to shower and go to work." And then you dread work. I was dreading work, struggling through work, thinking, it's going to be different tonight. It's going to be different. I'm just going to go home and I'm going to sleep and, I'm going to sort my life out. And then as soon as work finished, I'd get one beer inside me. And I was like, it might be a good idea to pick up some more cocaine,
That was something that was very traumatic to me as well, was the birds chirping.
Yes.
And I know
it's the worst.
It might sound like a small thing, but it's kind of the reminder that another night's just passed of the same thing that I've been doing for ages.
Mate, honestly, it's the worst, because I can only speak for myself, but I did have good intentions. Unfortunately, I'm not judged on my intentions. I'm judged on my actions, And everything I've done in my life has been a conscious decision that I've made. No one's forced me to do it. I take 100% responsibility for everything, that I've put inside of me, all my actions, what I've done. It's all been my own fault. But I lived, my intentions were good. And then, like you say, come to 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, whatever, and then birds start chirping. And I'm thinking, here we are again. I've done it again. And then somehow I've got to drag my ass through the day, knowing I can't use, and just praying that evening I can just go home and go to have some food and go to sleep,
But that never ended up happening.
It never ended up happening.
I want to go back to, I know this is maybe a tough subject, but the trauma that you experienced with your boss.
Yeah.
So with that experience, do you think that escalated your drug use a lot?
For sure. It escalated my drug use a lot. That gave me, I hated myself before that, but I fucking despised myself after that. I felt violated. I was violated. My dad couldn't look me in the eye after that. Not that I had a great relationship with my dad anyway, but it was the worst. I've been through some pretty shitty times, but that was the worst. I couldn't talk to anyone about it. I shut it deep down, I felt I was weak. I thought there was something wrong with me for letting. I always thought, why? How did you let it happen? How did you let it happen? The truth is, you don't let it happen. It's not exactly I dropped my trousers and told you, come and fucking. It doesn't work like that.
And I think when it comes to sexual assault, things have come a long way in terms of women speaking out and people believing women. And I think it's also kind of starting with men as well. But for men, I think you don't want to admit it. You don't want people to know because...
You don't, because it makes you feel weak,
And it makes you feel less than.
It makes you feel less than. People are going to judge you. And they do judge you. And it's horrible, It's like, they shouldn't. They should be supportive. They should be like, fuck, what can we do? But instead, they want to brush it under the carpet as well, And then you get, it's your fault for, how it wouldn't have happened to me. I wouldn't have let it happen. Yeah, fucking right. Well, put yourself in that situation and then see if you can stop it.
Bringing it back to, like, I've spoke to ex-gangsters.
Yeah.
And in prison in South Africa, and I'm sure it happens most places around the world, but in South African prisons, you get massive, big, strong guys. And you just can't, it's not your fault.
No.
And a lot of the time you cannot stop it.
No.
Like you said, you were 14 years old. What can a 14-year-old kid do,
No,
and besides for the strength part, it's just also just a shock to the system.
It is. It is.
Do you know who Paddy the Baddie is?
Yes.
The UFC
Paddy
fighter.
Pimlet, or whatever his name is, yeah.
Paddy Piglet or
Yeah.
don't know
The geezer with the hair that should be in their 70s.
Yeah,
the
so
brother.
he's a UFC fighter,
Yeah.
and I saw a clip of him this past weekend, and after he won his UFC fight, he was speaking about mental illness because one of his friends had committed suicide.
Yes, I saw that clip.
And he was saying he was saying, especially with men, we love to bottle things up.
We do.
For so long and beat ourselves up. But I want to encourage like anyone watching or as well, if you've ever been through a traumatic experience,
For sure.
just find someone you trust, first of all.
Yeah.
And just share, speak out. And a lot of the time, you'll feel a lot better for it. I'm pretty sure all of the time you'll feel a lot better for it. Even if it's not received the way you want it to be received, at least it's out there and you know that you're not kind of dealing with it alone.
No, for sure.
But I mean, from all of that, I mean, what kind of trouble were you getting into when things started to progress?
In the early days, I was involved in a lot of drug running, from Manchester down to London. A lot of violence. I could have been banged up for years and years and years, and I didn't give a fuck. I didn't batter an eyelid. I used to drive down the M6, which is a motorway that takes you from the north to the south in England. Doing 140 miles an hour in my BMW with fucking 12 ounces of coke in the glove compartment. If I'd have got pulled over, I would have been easy given a 5 to 15 stretch.
Would they be like 5 to 15 years in prison?
Yeah. And I'm not going to get away with personal usage on a fucking lump of coke like this, And I didn't care. I didn't batter an eye. I didn't care who I was hurting. I didn't. My mum, bless her, I put her through so much fucking stuff. She told me once. She said she used to hate listening to the news on the radio because she thought that it would come on that I'd either been murdered or I'd have been arrested for murdering someone. She told me that, and when she told me that, it cut me deep, because the last thing I love that woman, and the last thing I wanted, I know, and I did. I've taken full responsibility for what I put her through, and we have such a great relationship now. I'm a mama's boy at heart, and always will be. But yeah, I was back in the early days. Then I was involved in a lot of gangs. I was involved in Polish gangs, but that came a bit later. And there was a lot going on in my young life. I was getting used a lot. I was getting used by, people my own age I didn't hang about with. So I was hanging about with people a lot older, like in their late 30s, in their 40s. And this was when I was started when I was sort of like 16. And I would do anything, and they know I would do anything. They would go and take him, and and I would do it just so I could get recognition off them, because I wanted that male role model. I wanted to feel like someone's like, oh, good job, well done, we're proud of you, for all the wrong reasons. I don't condone that behavior at all, and it's disgusting. But I got wrapped up in it at the time. And I see now I was just getting used. But I didn't see it at the time. I thought, I was a part of something. Again, it made me feel a part of something. But the situations I've landed myself up in.
I actually wanted to ask you if you had any specific stories of things and times that just kind of were out of control or went too far.
I've got. How long have you got? Really,
maybe just one or two.
Yeah. Later on it's not my first time in recovery. I came into recovery young after getting an ultimatum off my girlfriend at the time. But I was a few years clean and sober, so just under 7 years when I relapsed, and so this time in my active addiction, I was back out there again for another 3 or 4 years. I got heavily involved in the Polish gang, which used to deal a lot in women and in cocaine. I never. There's only a couple of them I knew their real names, or they used to have names like the Doctor, or
What the guys you worked for.
Yeah. So I used to go and pick drugs up, and with there always used to be three of us. Both of them used to be armed, used to be carrying guns, And I witnessed a man getting his hand chopped off. I was actually a part. I couldn't bring myself. I didn't know I was going to be a part of it, but I was, and that's something that it's the scenes and the screams and still haunts me really to this day. So that was very out of control.
And do you know why they did that?
He owed money which he couldn't pay, and that's the sort of type of things they do. If you can't, I mean, they're ruthless people.
This is like proper mob mentality.
Eastern Europeans, they're proper. They all had little teardrop tattoos, and they wouldn't tell me what they mean. They're gang related.
You still not know what it means.
I think it's if you've committed a murder.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means. Yeah.
But I didn't know what it meant within the Polish. I thought if it's something different, or that all they kept telling me is you'll get yours one day, and I was thinking, oh no, fuck no. I don't want. But yeah, so and then I mean over here as well in Cape Town. I've been in Cape Town now. This is coming on 5 years. And I've landed myself up in some right fucking situations over here. I relapsed. I'm. What's this on August the 8th? I'll be 3 years clean and sober on August the 8th. So I've had spells over here, where I've ended up in. I remember one spell, I'd relapsed back onto crack. I ended up on crack and heroin and. I was smoking crack in this dingy fucking not derelict, but I think it was a brothel.
A brothel?
Yeah, I think it was a brothel in Weinberg. It was like a warehouse that the only reason why I think this, because I could hear a woman in the room next to that. So basically what there was, I went there with a woman who I was smoking crack with. She said, I know where we can go, where we can just smoke safely. So it's in this back street, just off Weinberg main road, and this warehouse that was run, but there was a manager. So you walk in, there's like cages you go through, big black manager, and then you go and you hired a room. So it was like I think it was
a brothel, bro.
Yeah, it's a brothel, right? So there's me smoking crack, and the manager of this hotel room was a crack dealer. So I kept going down, and he knew the woman I was with. I knew this. I don't know how I met this woman. I think I met her in rehab. So we were smoking crack, and I ran out of crack, and she was like, "Just go down and." So and I can wait when I'm fucked. I can sell an ice cube to an Eskimo. I can always get more drugs. If I don't have any cash on me, it ain't gonna stop me. You know what I mean? It's not. So I was in. Do you know what ticking means? Ticking is what we English call it. Ticking. So they just give you drugs on.
It's like
on a tick list.
I owe you kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know what you call it over here, but in the UK we call it tick. So you go on their tick list. So I was just fucking getting crack after crack after crack. I've done this 2 times over here, and knowing I could pay for it, but I didn't have the means to pay for it on me. So I said, look, I'm going to sort it out tomorrow. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, I didn't care. I was just getting more and more and more. And in the morning, I think I overstepped the mark with something I said, and he just pulls out a gun and just sticks it straight in my head. And you know what? At the time, I didn't bat an eyelid. If I was sober, I probably would have pissed my pants. I'm not going to lie. But I was so fucking high, I didn't care. I thought it was funny. God knows how he did not shoot me. God knows how he didn't shoot me. Anyway, I ended up getting marched somewhere with a gun in my back so I could get him his money. And it worked, and I did. But they're the kind of situations I get myself into.
Just like situations that you would never get into if you was sober.
Hell, fuck no. No, man.
And I want to go back a bit to prison.
Yeah.
And what was it like? Because I know prison in South Africa, it's just insane.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, it's not like that in the UK. It's not.
I wouldn't call it lawless in South Africa because they have the numbers gang, which basically runs the place.
Yeah, for sure.
But what's
I mean,
it
it's
like?
not like Polesmore. Well, I mean, it's nothing like Polesmore.
What was it like there? I mean,
in a young offenders institute, everyone's got something to prove. So they all want to be number one. They want to be top in a young offenders institute. You know, no one's got any sense. The guards took a beatings. It was horrible. It was ruthless. And I hated it. But I came out of there a lot. Let me think of the right thing to say here. I mean, I learned to cook up crack in prison. How crazy is that?
well, it's like the first time I went to rehab, I came out with a lot more knowledge
exactly,
of how to do stuff than I went in with.
Yeah, you do. And it's dangerous. And that's why I don't like rehabs. I don't like rehabs. Because some are just money spinners. They want you to relapse to come back. And they keep you in a really safe, whilst you're there, you're in this bubble. You're not living the world. Detoxing in a rehab, I think, is great. Detox in a rehab, you know.
Which means like you go there and until the drugs come out of your system and you're not under the influence anymore, then you leave,
So where were we? Yeah. It was, it's nothing like what it is over here, but, it's very clean. It's, some are like holiday camps, I suppose. You get TV in your room. You get nice food. Well, it's not nice food, but you get fed. Okay. It's nothing like a Polesmore or other prisons in South Africa. I think I wouldn't survive if I went to prison out here. There's no way I'd survive. No way.
No. From the things I've heard, it's constant daily survival struggle. Like you are on edge 24/7 unless you join a gang. And even still, you're on edge 24/7. And I'm not going to, especially as a white guy, I don't think it would fare too well.
No.
From what I've heard.
Definitely, man. I mean, there's no way I would.
Because I got into trouble a few times, and there was one time where I got arrested, and I was awaiting the court case. So the court case was about to happen, or it was like currently happening. It kept getting postponed and stuff. And then I got arrested during that time as well, before the case was settled. And I ran away. The cops didn't get me, but they got all my friends. So they knew where I was staying, and they rattled on me. Like they were like, I was mainly at fault. So they rattled on me. And I was like, in the moment when I was on my knees, I was like, if I stay here, I'm going to get a criminal record because then it's like a 2-time offender now. So I was just like, I have to get out of here. And I got out of there and I was fine. But when I got home for about a week or so, I was like, if they come for me, I could go to prison.
And that feeling is horrible, hey?
Yeah. And the one day I walked up to my dad, it was like 1 in the morning or something. And I woke my dad up. I was still living at the house with them. And I said, Dad, like I burst out crying. I was like, I can't go to prison. I was like, there's just no fucking way. I will get assaulted or killed. So luckily that didn't happen. Luckily. But I mean, getting back to you, I want to know, once you left prison, right? How long was it before you went into your first treatment center, your first rehab?
So I didn't go into treatment until I was 30. I was 30 when I went into my first treatment center, which was in the UK. I got sober. My first AA meeting was when I was 20. What I consider my first AA meeting, I got driven there by my girlfriend. And, when you come to me and they say, are there any newcomers? If so, would you introduce yourselves by first name only, blah, blah, blah. So I stuck my hand up and said, Tom, alcoholic, and everyone laughed. And I was like, why the fuck is everyone laughing? And then the man sitting next to me put his arm around me. He says, Tommy boy, he says, you've been here 4 times before. You've just been too fucked to remember.
No.
Yeah. So I was there, introduced myself every time as a newcomer, And then I was actually there sober.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but that's funny.
But when I was actually there sober, and thought it was the first time I was there. Anyway, that man sat next to me, became my sponsor, and I was off clean for a long time, and then relapsed badly when I was 27. 27, yeah. First on alcohol, and then I became, within like 6 weeks, I was decantering wine into Lucozade bottles so I could drink driving to work. I mean, in that time, I was clean. Fuck, my life was great, you know. Well, I've got 3 beautiful boys in the UK: Fraser, Sebastian, and Theodore. You know, so we had them. I was getting promoted at work. I was, you know, operations director of a international firm, and yeah, no, I picked up things didn't quite work out between the boy's mother and me, and it made me pick up a drink. And then within 6 weeks, I was decanting wine into Lucozade bottles so I could drink driving to work in the morning, and then I got kicked out of the house, the family house. The boy's mother said, you know, I never cheated on her at all with, you know, I stayed faithful, but I did. I cheated on her with alcohol, you know, because I fucking lied. You know, I bought a house next to a pub in that, you know, we were moving. You know, I used to go, I'm just going to go and get the bins in. I'd already been drinking, and I'd come back 4 hours later with this elaborate story that fucking you wouldn't believe the bins were stolen. I had to walk right away across town. You know, and then I found one bin, I couldn't find the other. And she know all the time I was just sitting in the fucking boozer next door, you know, getting lashed. You know, and so she couldn't trust me anymore. And I drink, you know, all I cared about, and I'm ashamed to say this, but this is what booze, and when you're an addict or an alcoholic, this is what for me, alcohol and drugs become my higher power. Everything revolves around alcohol and drugs, you know. And I don't choose it, because as soon as I have that first hit or that first, you know, or a drink, my ability to make decisions or choose gets taken away from me, because then, you know, I've been around this a long time. My disease takes that choice away from me, and all I care about is alcohol and drugs. I put them before the people who I love most in the world. I will, you know what I mean? I will step over my mum for a crack hit if she's on fire.
The one time my mom used to hide her bag everywhere because I would steal her money. And she ran out of places to hide it. And I was so good at finding it. I mean, I thought I was doing it quickly, but I was probably looking for hours. And the one day I had searched, this is how meticulous I was. Yeah. I had searched every single inch of the house, in their room while they were sleeping, all around the house, outside, but she used to hide it in the bush, everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, she's hidden it under her pillow. It's the only place I had not searched.
Okay. And then she was sleeping in the...
Yes. Yeah. And I went to her head, and I put my hand without looking under the pillow, and I found it. Okay. That's how bad it was. I had done that every night for years or for months. And I just got so good at knowing and understanding her psychology that, and I would watch during the day, like, where's she going funny? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was just like, the only place that I haven't looked is the pillow. And I also want again, I don't often speak to the camera, but to anyone that is an addict or has like family members that suffer from addiction, what Tommy was saying is true, is you don't have a choice. Once, you know, it just takes 1 week moment after being sober for years to make you go, you know, I'm gonna use drugs again. And once you make that decision, it's almost like an addict has 2 different personalities. There's how you are when you're sober and how you are when you're on drugs. And like me, I've done things that I would never ever do sober on drugs. Things that disgust me as a person, that if I saw someone else doing them, I'd be like, that is unforgivable.
Yeah.
But it's what happens when you use drugs.
Listen, I'm sober. I have freedom of choice at the moment. You know, I can make, it's my choice what decisions I make. I have to keep enough in my spiritual bank to make the right decisions, because picking up is only an arm's length away from me, you know. To pick up a drink, or I can fucking, even though I don't know any drug dealers, I'll sniff them out within a fucking 5 mile radius, you know, because I'm an addict. But as soon as I take that first hit, and don't get me wrong, it is my decision to take that first hit. Every relapse I've had, it has always been my own decision, my own conscious decision to take that first hit. But as soon as I take that first hit, my freedom of choice gets taken away from me. And then it's well, you know what it's like, snowball, chase. And I can't get off it, you know. I'll end up, you know, on a fucking 5 to 7 day binge, and then have to knock myself out with heroin or with benzos for 2 days, wake up feeling shit. Oh, I have to have a hit.
To make you feel better.
To make you feel better. And then we go again, you know.
And you said, so you started going to NA at 20?
Yes, AA, yeah.
AA.
Yeah.
When was the first time you actually went to a rehab?
So that was when I was 30. I'd been using heavily. Listen, I'd lost everything. I still had a job. Fuck knows how. But I lived in a room above a pub that my mate owned. So in the day, I would go to this job where I had a lot of responsibility, which I was using at by this time. And then I'd come back to this pub and I'd work behind the bar, which I loved because I could just get booze and he didn't mind me doing drugs. And my life was just shit. And one day I was sitting, it was a Monday morning, early Monday morning, I was sitting on the sofa downstairs in this pub with a needle sticking out of my arm, pipe in my mouth, and I think a bottle of JD next to me. And I just went, I can't do this. You know, I can't do it. I surrendered to the fact that, again, my life was controlled. I mean, it had been controlled by a long time, but I always, you know, lied to myself and that it wasn't a problem. But I went to kill myself, and then I ended up, anyway, phoning my mum, and things happened, and I ended up in rehab when I was 30 years old in the UK. Rehab that Russell Brand went to, funny enough, which was in my hometown.
And was your experience, like when you came here, did you go, I actually want to get clean this time? Or was it?
I was in such a state. I was in such a state. I was desperate, you know. I was desperate. I don't know if I could tell you if I was ready again, because I knew what I'd lost, and I just didn't think it was, if it was worth getting sober, you know. But I had to do something because I was putting people who I love through so much shit and hell. You know, I would have, if I'd have stayed in the UK any longer, I would have been dead, or I would have had a really lengthy prison term. I ended up being fucking a debt collector for this Polish gang. And I was a nasty little, because I was always off my nut, and it would have soon caught up with me.
At what point did you decide to take it seriously? Because there was a point.
Yeah. Oh no, mate, there was a point, definitely. Something changed in me, switched in me, and actually, I wanted to live a better life again. You know, I lost a lot. I'd been through so much. It's hard to come back from that, but you can come back from that. And little by little, things started changing in me. You know, my self-worth went up a little bit. I've focused a lot on the relationship I had with myself. You know, that's what makes my life the way it is today. Is because of the work I've put in on the relationship I have with me. It's not, some days it's not great, but most days I can say, I can look in the mirror and go, okay, cool, you're a cool dude, you know. You've done some shit, but, you know, I've made amends, and at the end of the day, I don't hate myself for it anymore. I can never forget it because it'll soon take me back there. But I don't hate myself anymore. You know, I'm married now to the love of my life. It's actually my first wedding anniversary today, and she's an amazing woman, you know. And I certainly wouldn't have her in my life if I was sober, if I was drinking or on drugs. We have a beautiful son, Carter, I wouldn't have him in my life. I've got my 3 boys in my life in the UK, Fraser, Sebastian, and Theodore. You know, I'm a present father to them. They love me. I'll go back to the UK. They stay with me. You know, I video call them all the time. I'm daddy to them. You know, I'm a daddy. I'm a present. I'm there. I have a great relationship with my mum. I speak to her every day. I speak to my brother. I work with my brother. And it's all about action for me. You know, I wasn't putting in the action, and it showed. I just kept relapsing, you know. Probably because I was in such denial. And I wasn't putting in the action. And when I started putting in the action, you know, my life, I live my life that every day I want to be a little bit of a better human being than I was yesterday. And some days, you know, I try my best every day. And some days that's different, you know, but I am my biggest critic, you know, and my wife will tell you this. I can't give myself a break or rest. I constantly have to be doing something to, looking at it, you know, it's I need to feel like I'm making an improvement on what I've come from. And I mean, just sitting if it comes to it, you know, I'm only just saying this. I've never said this out loud before. You know, if it means, you know, just for one day, I'm really overwhelmed and all I can do is lay in bed, but I'm clean and sober. That's making an improvement of where I've come from. You know, that is. But I don't allow myself time to. I think, you know, I always have to put in some action in the day. I always have to think, okay, cool, I've achieved something today. And I've grown from it. Whereas I can still grow if I don't do fuck all, but I stay clean and sober, I can still grow. I just have to keep telling myself that. Do I put it into practice? I can't, not at the moment. I'm not going to lie, I don't. But I need to start putting it into practice. But at least I can see it now, I suppose.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it is I always have that thing where it's like if I'm not, I always feel like I'm not doing enough, or I haven't come far enough.
Yeah.
You know, like I always look and I'm like, oh, I'm single. I'm 25. You know, my brother's got kids. Like, his wife is 24. You know, I'm always thinking my career isn't as far as I wanted to be. I always think of all the negatives. Yeah. And for so long, that was the case. And like, I'm not even joking. It was probably like a day or two ago. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, you know, you actually look quite handsome today. Yeah. Like, I was like, you look pretty good, you know?
Man. Yeah.
And you're actually doing okay, you know?
Yeah. Because, mate, you're the same as me. You don't give yourself a break. You should give yourself a pat on the back more often. Yeah,
everything's always as bad as it can be in my head. But of course. On the surface, it's not that.
No, it's not. But it's not. I mean, I always look. I'm funny. I always look for. No, I don't these days. But I tend to catastrophize things a lot. You know. I mean, I would like more money in the bank. Who wouldn't like more money in the bank? But I've got a lovely house. We live in a lovely house. I can afford to give my 4 sons what they want. Drive a nice car. You know, I put in the work to have all that stuff. And my wife does as well, you know. She spurs me. She spurs me. She spurs me on to better myself as well. Fuck knows why she married me. I sit there sometimes. I'm like, hey, is this fucking someone's gonna jump out from a cupboard soon and go, ah, we got you, you know. We was just winding you up because you've been such a for so long.
And just coming towards the end, I want to ask you, because you've dealt with relapse a lot in your past, right? And just for anyone watching, because I'm sure there's going to be people that have either their brother or their sister or their dad or their mom or themselves that suffers from addiction. When you do go and get help and you fall short, right? Like I've relapsed as well. When you do fall short, what are the things that you can do to get back on the right path?
Swallow your pride. For me, it's a lot about my pride. It's about saying I need help. Talking to the best thing to do. You need to involve your family and and your friends to let them know that you've relapsed, and if they don't already. But you need to get in contact with a recovering addict or alcoholic, because they know what you're going through. No one else in the world, apart from a recovering addict or alcoholic, will know what you're going through. You need to make that call. You need to get yourself to an NA, AA, whatever kind of 12-step meeting, and sit in that chair, because you will be welcomed with open arms. It doesn't matter if you are an hour clean. If you had a hit, walk into the meeting, get yourself to a fucking meeting, sit down in that chair. I've done it. I've gone into meeting here in. I was due to be chairperson of this. I was doing service at a meeting in Kenilworth, and I relapsed. And if it wasn't for the people there that got me, I was sitting back in that meeting a week later, whereas normally I would have gone, fuck, I couldn't bring myself to come back because of the shame, the guilt of relapse. Listen, if you've relapsed, don't be guilty. What you need to do, yesterday doesn't matter. Yesterday's gone. It's about the action you put in now. You need to put in that action to get yourself sober again. You're not going to change yesterday, no matter how much you fixate on it. It will never change. What you can change is tomorrow. That action you put in today will change tomorrow for you. You need to get in the chair, make calls, speak to people, go and camp outside someone's house until they are safe. Get yourself safe, and just remember you're worth recovery. Everyone's worth recovery. It really is. It's tough to do once you've relapsed, but there should be no shame and no guilt, because you will be welcomed back in to recovery with open arms, and no one's going to judge you. No one's going to say anything. They'll give you a hug, and they'll give you a cup of tea and a biscuit, and they will love you until you love yourself. They will.
Amazing, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you. I'm still amazes me that you asked me, because I think that, I'm sitting here like a fraud.
But that's how I felt as well for a long time. It's like, it is weird sharing your own story. And like you were saying, like, you're sharing things that you've never shared before, but I could see it was a very raw, the way you told it was very raw. And I think a lot of people are going to relate to what you said.
I hope, I've only got one story, and I hope, if it gets 5 views and it helps one person, then it's been very worthwhile.
Exactly.
Thanks, man.
But anyway, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you so much for watching. This is the Wide Awake podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you all very soon. Cheers. Done.